Now today I'm talking to Jamie Brown from Frantic Films, who's joining us all the way from Manitoba, if I'm not mistaken. How are you, Jamie? How's the situation like over there?
I'm great, actually. I mean, we're quite fortunate to have started phase 3 in Manitoba. So a lot of things are opening up, and we actually started shooting in Manitoba June 1st, or at least we could have started shooting. But there's still a few things to be worked out. So very few cases, nobody in the hospital. It's really a good news story.
Amazing. And now right now, obviously with the pandemic situation, I think a lot of people are relying on comedy to get them through the day. And as executive producer of Baroness von Sketch, can you talk to us about your role on the show and how important you think comedy is right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bad 2020. I mean, really, it's felt like we maybe had a few weeks to start off the year where things were looking optimistic, and it's been a tough time for everybody since then. And we're all dealing with a lot of stress every day, and being able to have a moment to sit back and relax and laugh is always a great thing. But I think especially now it's really welcome, and we're seeing great ratings for the shows we have on air that are comedies.
And now Baroness von Sketch is actually a show for women, about women. It is produced and starred by women. What is that like for you? Have you learned a lot working with such a strong female team?
You know, it really was, Baroness started 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now, kind of before there was the Me Too movement and a lot of push to trying to get more women in certain roles in the industry. There are lots of successful women like you in the industry and like many others, but to have a show like Baroness that was created by a team of women who had the creative control and really drove the show, and of course wrote and produced and were involved in every aspect of it, that was a bit different. And it felt like it was the right time even then to not just do another sketch show. You know, of course, Kids in the Hall would be the one we thought we'd be compared to, being one of the greatest sketch comedies ever, and knew that we needed to have our own unique identity. And the four of them really achieved that in lots of ways, but also, of course, because they're women. But really, we were attracted to it mostly because they had such amazing resumes, and they were so great as talent right out of the gate, aside from all of that.
Is that something that you prioritize a lot in the productions that you work on, having women in these leadership roles?
You know, it's not really something that I'm consciously pushing. I just find that the best people to do the work are often women. And, you know, so I think every person who's involved, I think, you know, we always have to think about how we're building our teams and making sure we're not unconsciously excluding someone who's, or a community that maybe is not something that I'm immediately aware of or is connected to. But as far as our team and women, there's my CFO, my head of post-production, my second in charge, and my head of unscripted development are all women. And it wasn't consciously done. It was just they were the best people I could find.
And one thing that I find interesting about Frantic Films as well is the fact that there is a second office in Manitoba. And I don't think that a lot of people back home are aware that there is a lot of talent and a lot of, you know, productions going on in Manitoba. So can you talk to us about what you found in these provinces that don't usually get all of the attention?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, our office in downtown Toronto, obviously huge production center, incredible talent, and so many resources. But Manitoba did about 270 million in production last year, which is a significant amount of work. There's thousands of people working in the industry, and it presents different advantages to producers. Sean Penn shot a couple of movies last year in Manitoba. Amazon had a big series, and different cities have a different look, a different feel. The crews are fantastic, and the incentives, of course, which are across the country, are particularly great in Manitoba as well.
And speaking of Manitoba, you actually were appointed to the Premier's Economic Opportunities Advisory Board, which is a bit of a mouthful, but you pretty much helped the reopening of the province during coronavirus. How did that even happen?
I'm a small part of the whole effort that everyone in the province is making, but I'm on something called the Business Council of Manitoba, which represents employers and businesses in Manitoba. And we made a submission to the provincial government about how we thought we could restart the economy once we were past the worst of COVID and flattened the curve. The Premier liked what he saw from us and decided to start another group to really guide us forward through short term and then the medium and long term. So I was very fortunate to be asked to be part of it, and I'm really enjoying working with an amazing team of people in the government and otherwise to help the province come out of this tough time.
Now, a lot of us have never, I think actually all of us have never been through a pandemic before. What were your priorities when it came to reopening the economy? What do you think is the most important thing for Canadians right now?
Well, you won't be surprised to hear safety is the number one concern. Everyone wants to make sure whatever we're doing properly and safely. But at the same time, there was a lot of messaging around the dangers and the need to stay home as the pandemic first came out. Now, as we're starting to open, we need to try to give people the confidence to go out and go to a restaurant or go get a haircut, knowing that if the proper steps are being taken, they're creating a safe environment. So that's been a big focus early on, is to help people feel good about getting out again.
And when it comes to small business, do you think that there's, people back home that own a business or that own a restaurant? Is there any kind of recommendation you'd give them now that they're opening up to make sure that they can get back to where they were before the pandemic started?
Boy, it's just so tough. I mean, we really have seen so many small businesses take such a terrible hit through this, and many are not going to make it out of this. And as I read in the, for the small business organizations across Canada, which is just heartbreaking, people's livelihoods and their dreams. So I wish there was an easy solution or a way to help people come back. We just have to all try to support local businesses and realize that we can give them a chance to open safely. And as long as they're looking to the provincial health authorities and making sure they're doing what they need to, we can help get out of this unprecedented situation, as you said.
Absolutely. Now, Jamie, I am curious, coronavirus is obviously not a topic to laugh about, but I think we still need to find a way to make light out of these difficult situations. Is there any plans, maybe not in the Baroness, because of course it is their final season this fall, but are there any plans to do any pandemic related or inspired productions by Frantic Films?
Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed that we will see the end of this era of the pandemic by early next year. So because of the long timelines of production, where it can take many months to a year to get a show finished and on air, we're not trying to do too much, with the hope that by next spring we will be past this and people will be sick to death of talking about COVID and nobody will want to hear about this again. But short term, what we've done is push forward with productions with smaller crews, so you have fewer people working together. I mean, the big movies with hundreds of people on set, that's going to be a challenge. But our smaller shows, our lifestyle shows, we've really pushed those forward. And on the comedy front, we're going to be able to use some past material on some of our shows to generate some new content, outtakes and similar content that will be done in post-production in a COVID-safe way and generate some new content for some of our shows.
Amazing. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. This has all been very enlightening. And of course, we wish you all of the best with these productions and with all of your endeavors in the future.
Thanks so much, Camila. Really enjoyed it.